It's time for another look inside the Creative iMedia Toolkit, and today we're going to look at performance criteria and evaluation. So just have a look at the mark bands. We're on limited, adequately and fully. So this section, there's a little bit of written work involved if you want to justify whether you've met the client's requirements. Obviously we're going to look at the finished product as well. On the finished product, we're going to see whether you have met the client's requirements. And there's lots of different ways of adding evidence for this. We're using a performance criteria to evaluate the client's requirements. You can use whatever method you want. You can choose whichever way you want to do it. But this is a good and quick way of doing this, which I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to flick over now to the performance criteria template, and we're going to move on from there. So here's a performance criteria template, and on the left hand side you put your performance criteria, and on the right hand side you can explain, did I meet the client's requirements? So what you need to do, and this, let's go to the practice assignment here. This is the client's brief, set assignment and the scenario for the task. Far too often students do not use the client's brief or look at this. They go off and have their own ideas, which is great, but this is what you're meant to be doing. And if you do not look at each part of this and do what you're asked, you will lose marks. And I'm going to show you now how you can analyse this and add it into a performance criteria. So HomeFit is a new company that provides health and fitness guidance for activities that can be done in your own home. Their product range includes home exercise routines and a fitness tracker. The tracker keeps a record of what activities you have done, your weight loss and calories burnt. The company has a website, app and social media accounts. As a graphic designer, so you are working as a graphic designer, you have been asked to produce a visual identity for HomeFit. So the first thing you're doing is you have been asked to produce a visual identity for HomeFit. So, we can copy this across, and we can copy in here. Now, if you copy and paste this, you must put a reference underneath at the bottom, writing, I have used the set assignment to find some of the information. That's absolutely fine as long as you reference where you've got it from. You're allowed to copy and paste from the specification and the set assignment as long as you explain at the bottom that you've done that. So, on the performance criteria, I'm going to change this. So I'll remove this part, and I'm going to put produce a visual identity for HomeFit. So that's a starting point, and you can add to that if you want. You can put, this would be a logo with company name and strapline. So that's the first thing you've got to do. Now the reason it's called the performance criteria is it's a criteria for whether you've performed and done what you've meant to have done. So once you've finished the task, you can go back and look through all the points that you was meant to do, and you can write about did you meet them bit by bit. So it makes your extended writing and your evaluation a lot easier to do. So we go back to the practice assignment, and then we work our way down. The target audience are people wanting to keep fit but may not have time or access to visit a gym. The visual identity should catch their attention. So I go back and I put catch, spell this correctly, catch the attention of the target audience. These are people who, and then we work our way down, and let's have a look. So we go back, the people who are wanting to keep fit So I could copy and paste that. Now ideally, I'd put this into my own words, but if I don't, I must reference at the bottom that I've used parts of the set assignment to do that. And at this point, you could elaborate or go further. You could say whether the men, the women, the age, ethnicity, all the different target audience strands that we usually look at in the iMedia course. I'm going to pause the video now. I'm going to build up the performance criteria for the whole project, and I'm going to catch up with you in a couple of minutes once that's done. So I've now filled up the performance criteria. I just want to go through a few things. So the first one here, produce a visual identity for HomeFit. This will be a logo with company name and strapline. I have put, yes, I have done this. I made a logo. That is probably bottom markband material because you're saying you've done something, but you've not really explained how it's been done and what the logo looks like, if it works. I mean, you might have done the greatest logo in the world, and that might be somewhere in your work, and you might pick up the marks, but as far as explanations go, that's not great. This one, I added fitness pictures of people exercising because the audience would relate to this. That's much better. You've got a because and an explanation afterwards. You could go further than this though, to really explain how you've related to the target audience. All this on its own isn't worth marks. It's how it relates to other parts of the project. That's where you're going to pick up marks, which I will show you. So this one, I have created a promotional item on the poster. This is a screenshot below which shows an offer we included for 50% off the first 3 months. You might go further and explain why you've done that. These are the ones which are absolutely great towards the bottom because there's lots of sections where you're meant to show your technical ability. And on this one, we have the poster was created at the correct size of 20 centimetres by 30 centimetres. So you're proving that you've met this part of the criteria. Now, there's a little bit of a problem on this because if your teacher is marking this work and they spot, oh look here, the width is 22.5 centimetres, that means you haven't met the performance criteria of 20 centimetres. So be very careful that you do things correctly. So performance criteria can also act as a way of checking over your work and making sure you've done things properly. Now this one's a really good example because you're meant to create a print quality version of the advert. Now there's a screenshot here of your 300 DPI TIFF version. And on this one it says the print quality of the advert was 300 DPI TIFF. I did this because 300 DPI is standard print quality and a TIFF is a lossless file so it won't lose quality, which is important for the magazine. So you have got to be completely explicit, and it does ask when you're doing your exports in another section of the coursework that you're completely sure and you understand why you've exported those files in the way you have. So if you can export a TIFF at 300 DPI and also export your JPEG at the set dimensions and explain why you've done it, you're going to really be saying to your teacher or moderator, I know what I'm doing, I'm really good at this coursework, and I can justify being in the top mark band. So just to finish off and remind you, the performance criteria and evaluation example is on the Knowledge Organiser. All the other things like exporting graphics and other bits and pieces associated with the project you'll find on this document as well. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll catch up with you next time we look inside the iMedia Toolkit.